Hello everyone, this is Miss McGowan and we are doing 10.7 circle equations. So we're going to start off with the standard equation of a circle, which is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So the big things that we're taking away is that we have an h and a k, which are the center points of our circle. We have an x and a y, which are any point that's on the circle. And then we have an r, which is the radius of our circle. So we need all of these things to figure out the equation of our circle. So if we go over here on number 1, we need to write the equation of a circle with a center at 0, 0, and a radius of 1/3. So we need a label first. So our center is at HK, and our radius is R. So now all we're doing is plugging this into our formula. So we have x minus our h, which is 0, and then we square that and add y minus our k, which is 0, and we square that and it equals our radius, which is 1/3, and we square that. So if you notice, whenever we subtract 0 away from x, it's just going to stay as x. And then when you subtract 0 away from y, it's just y. So we have x squared plus y squared, and then 1/3 squared is 1/9. So this is the final equation here. So something to recognize is that when our center is at 0, 0, we are always going to end up with just x squared y squared on the left, because if you notice when we put those zeros in there, x minus 0 is always going to be x squared. X squared minus 0 is always going to be x squared, and same for y squared. So if you have a center at 0, 0, you're going to end up with x squared plus y squared. Okay, the next one is a circle with a center at -3, -5. So these are our h and our k, and then our radius is 8. So we're going to plug that into our formula. We have x minus, and then you notice we have negative number for our h. So once we simplify that will obviously go positive. And then we have y minus, and our k is -5. And we square it, and it's equal to r squared, so 8 squared. Okay, so when we simplify this, this turns to x plus 3 squared plus y plus 5 squared, and 8 squared is 64. Now something to note here, our h and our k are always going to look opposite signs. So our h and our k are both negative as a coordinate, but they look positive in the equation. So our h and our k are always opposite sign of what they appear in the equation. Okay, here they've given us a graph. So, and we need to write the equation. So in order to write the equation, we need our h and our k, which is our center and our radius. So our center is right here, which would be at the point 2, 2. So our h and our k are both 2. And then our radius is the distance from the center to the outside. So if we hop over 1, 2, 3, 4, our radius is 4. Now we're just going to put that into our equation. So we have x minus h, which is 2, and then we square it, plus y minus, and our k is also 2, and then we square it, and it's equal to radius squared, so 4 squared. Okay, and then once we simplify, we don't have any zeros and we don't have any double negatives, so the whole left side just stays the same to simplify. So the only thing that we're changing is the 4 squared, which we know is 16. Number 4, same thing. We need the center, which our center is at 0, 0. And then our radius, if you notice, this is counting by 2, so each hop is actually by 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8 this time. So our radius is 8. Now, we already said if we have a center at 0, 0, then it has to be x squared plus y squared on the left. So then all we're plugging in is 8 squared. And we know that 8 squared is 64. So we have x squared plus y squared equals 64 as our final answer. Okay, here we're given the center at 0, 0 and a point on the circle. So we need to write the standard equation, which means we still need the radius and the center. So they gave us the center, so this is our h and our k, but they did not give us the radius. They gave us a point on the circle. So this is going to be x and y. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to plug it into our equation, which is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And we're just going to plug in now. So we have x, which is actually -4. And then we subtract our h, which is 0. And then we square that and add our y, which is 3. And we subtract our k, which is 0. And then we square that. And it equals r squared because we don't know our r. -4 minus 0 is still -4. And then we square it. And if you were typing this in the calculator, we need to remember if we're squaring negative numbers, we have to put them in parentheses. 3 minus 0 is just 3. And then we square it. So now we could put all this in the calculator. We have 16 plus 9, which is 25. And that equals r squared. But we need r, so we're going to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of 25 is 5. So now that we have our radius and our h and our k, we can write our equation, which would be x squared plus y squared, because it's 0, 0. And then equals radius squared, so 5 squared is 25. Okay, number 6, once again, they gave us the center, which would be h and k. And then they gave us the point on the circle, which is going to be x and y. So once we plug this into our formula, we can do x, which is 0, minus our h, which is 4. And then we square it, and we add y, which is 8, minus k, equals radius squared. Okay, 0 minus 4 is -4. And when we square a negative number, we need to make sure it's in parentheses for our calculator. 8 minus 5 is 3, so we have 3 squared equals r squared. And this is the same thing as this over here. So -4 squared plus 3 squared is 25 equals r squared, and then we square both sides to find r. So r equals 5, and then we have our center h and k. So we can rewrite this as x minus our h, which is 4, squared, plus y minus k, which is 5, squared, equals r squared. So 5 squared is 25. Okay, we need to find the center and the radius of the circle so that we can graph it. So since we have x squared plus y squared on the left, we know that our center is at 0, 0. And then our radius comes from the right side of the equation. But remember, in our equation, it's r squared. So currently our r squared equals 225. So we need to take the square root of both sides to find that r equals 15. So we have a radius of 15. And now we're going to plot that. So we have our center at 0, 0. And now we don't have 15 lines, so we're going to make each line count by 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20. So that means we're going to hop over 1, 2, 3 times. Now our radius is the same distance from the center all the way around the circle. So that means we can actually go up by 3 in each direction, which is actually up by 15, left by 15, down by 15. And now we have all of our points, and we can connect them with a curved line to make a circle. Okay, number 8, so we need to find our center. Our center, remember, has the coordinates that look like the opposite sign of how they look in the equation. So since this is x minus 3, it's actually the opposite. So we have positive 3 as our h. And then we have a positive 2 in the equation, so that means it's going to be negative 2 as the coordinate. So our center is at 3, negative 2. And then we see that our radius comes from the right side, so we have r squared equals 16, and we're going to take the square root of both sides to find that our r is 4. So we can go over by 4 in each direction to find the points of our circle. So I'm just going by 4 in each direction, and then I'm going to connect those with a curved line to see our square. So there's a very wonky square there. So on this one, we're just proving if this is true or not. So it says that we have a point that lies on the line. Our point that lies on our line is always our x and our y. And it says that it's a circle centered at the origin. So the origin should be its center, and the origin is 0, 0. So that is actually our h and our k. And then it says our radius is 6, which would be our r. So we're essentially going to plug this into the equation and see if it's true. All right, so I'm going to first write out my x and my y, my hk and my r into the equation and see if what we have is true. So we have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, and then I'm going to plug everything in. So our x is negative 4 minus 0 is our h squared plus y is 4 minus k is 0 squared, and r is 6. Negative 4 minus 0 would be negative 4. When I square a negative number, I need to keep it in parentheses. 4 minus 0 is 4. And then we have 6 squared. So negative 4 squared would be 16 plus 4 squared is 16. So 16 plus 16 is 32. And then 6 squared is 36. So 32 does not equal 36. So this is false. Okay, and lastly, we need to prove if this is true or not. So we have a point that lies on the circle, so that would be our x and our y. And it says that it's centered, so that's our hk, at negative 4, negative 1. And then a radius of 3 root 2. So we need to plug this in and see if it's true. So once again, we have that same equation from up here. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So I'm going to plug that in. Okay, when we plug all of this in, we need to make sure that when we have anything with a radical in it, so this 3 radical 2, and we need to square it, we need to make sure that we put that whole number in parentheses. Okay, so negative 1 plus 4 would give me 3, so we have 3 squared, and 2 plus 1 is 3, and then that would give me 3 squared also, and then that equals 3 root 2 squared. 3 squared is 9, plus 3 squared is 9, so that would be 18 over here. And now, this is tricky. You're going to square the 3, which would give me 9. And then once you square that root 2, that just cancels out the radicals. So you essentially are left with 9 times 2, which is 18. So 18 does equal 18, so this is true. This has been our circle equations lesson. I will see you in class. Bye.